Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to read my TBR once again, Immersive Reading Edition. I know there's tons of discourse in the book community about audiobooks not being considered reading. To those people that say that,
we do not care.
But today I'm going to be immersive reading as many books as I can. These are the 3 books that I got from my library last week. The first one on the list is The Girls in the Garden by Lisa Jewell. This will be my very first Lisa Jewell book that I will ever read, and it is considered a mystery. I love to go into books blind, so I don't want to read the synopsis on this, but I can tell that this is going to be a really good book. And the second book is The Woman by Kristen Hanna. Once again, this will be my very first Kristen Hanna book that I will read. I just know this is about war and women in war. That's the gist that I know of, and I heard it is really sad, so I don't know if I want to start out with a sad book for this video. And the one that has been most talked about in the video that I posted on my TikTok last night is Maame by Jessica Jordan. I said the name of this book wrong in my TikTok. I'm sorry, but I did get corrected. And to be honest, I think I'm going to start off with Maame. It is a fairly short book, only just over 300 pages, which I should get this book done in only a few hours. The audiobook for this is only 10 hours, and I do listen to my audiobooks at 2 times speed, sometimes 2.5. So I should get this done in maybe 7 hours. I'm not sure. We'll see about that. So without further ado, let's get started. I can already tell how this book is gonna go because personally, me being a physical therapist assistant, I have worked in settings such as long-term care facilities and people that are at the end of their life who are struggling and dealing with Parkinson's disease. And firsthand seeing it as a therapist is one of the saddest diseases I've ever come across. I can only imagine how the family is feeling, seeing their loved one, their parent, their grandparent dealing with this nasty disease. And it truly does take the life out of a person. I did have a patient, obviously HIPAA, not gonna say any describers about the patient, but it was a woman at the time. She was dealing with Parkinson's for almost 13 years. And it truly degenerated her spine. Her posture was honestly terrible. She was hunched over walking like this. I'll show you. This is not funny. I'm just showing you for demonstration purposes. But this is how her posture was. All jokes aside, it was insane to see. I can already tell how this book is gonna go. I know it's gonna be sad, and I feel so terrible for Maame because it seems like she is the soul of this family, and the family really relies on her for everything. She's taking care of her father as a caregiver. Her mother is constantly going back and forth from Africa, Ghana to London, which is where they live. And it seems like her mom has a secret lover. I really just want Maame to build a life of her own and figure out her independence for herself, and I feel like that's the exact trajectory that this book is going to take. I'm glad Maame, Maddie, however she wants to be called, is finally stepping into her independence. She's moved out of her family's house. Her mom finally came back from Africa to be her husband's actual caregiver, because that's what wives do, not their children. Even though apparently that's a cultural thing. I get it, but if you're not a widow, then you need to be taking care of your spouse, whether you guys are together or separated, regardless of the fact, till death do you part. Take care of your spouse. Unfortunately, Maame got fired from her job as a personal assistant, so she's in search for a new job, but I think she's gonna get this new one that she was offered. So things are finally starting to look up for her. I would love to be a fly on the wall for Maddie and Ben's first date at his house. He's cooking her dinner right now. And number one, Maddie's a virgin. She just moved out of her family's house. Apparently Ben is extremely cute with dimples, the whole 9 yards. She thinks that Ben has ill intentions for their first date at his house, but his intentions made very clear from the beginning that he literally just wants to cook dinner for her and just treat her with kindness and respect. So she is not sure how to navigate this whole date experience. And the way Maddie's personality is, she's very naive to everything, and she hasn't experienced life is what I'm trying to say. It's very juvenile, her knowledge of the world. So it's just funny experiencing this first date with the both of them because it's very awkward. It sucks that all good things have to come to an end eventually, and right now I'm pretty much 50% into the book, and Maddie's dad has just passed away. That was to be expected, but unexpected at the same time. I don't even want to know what it feels like to lose a parent. That is one of the most devastating things that anyone can go through. So I definitely empathize with Maddie right now and her sibling. And right now, Maddie is actually blaming her mom for not being there at her dad's passing. And what's even crazier is that Maddie's dad passed away on his birthday. And her mom only stepped out of the house for 10 minutes. And he passed away while he was alone. And Maddie is definitely feeling guilty because the night before, she went out with her flatmates. And she was telling them, you know, guys, I really feel like I need to go home. Something in me is telling me I need to leave and be home with my family right now. And lo and behold, the next day, she got the most tragic news of her entire life. So number one, she's blaming her flatmates for not being there for her dad while he passed. And number two, she's blaming her mom for leaving to go to the store for 10 minutes. And during that 10 minutes, her dad passed away. Let's keep reading. I spoke too soon about Ben. Fuck Ben. Two-time in face bitch. That's all I gotta say. Maame is completed, and here are my final thoughts. Maddie has gone through some shit as a young 25-year-old woman. Her family has honestly taken advantage of her kindness and her likeliness to take care of her father before his passing, years even before the diagnosis. And that's a lot for a young woman to take on. She's having to deal with grief basically by herself because all her mom is worried about is money, 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 money. Her brother lives in the States, so he's literally and physically not around to help take care of her and grieve with her in person. And she really doesn't have any true friends besides one good friend named Nia. And Nia is the only person that has come forth as a true friend and the situation that Maddie's having to deal with. Grief is never linear. It's not the same for everyone and never looks the same for anyone. But of course, going to therapy is very stigmatized in her culture. So the fact that she has even had the courage to step into that therapist's office, talk about everything that she's going through in her life, and she's basically just pleading to her therapist that she needs somebody to rely on. She can't do this all by herself. She can't hold the weight of losing her father and her family's burden on her back because she is just one person. So with that being said, I did rate this book 4 stars. It is amazing. I did not stop listening to the audiobook since I started it this morning, and it is 3:45. So I'm actually going to take a little break, and every day I try to journal in my prayer journal. Ignore the scribbles on my cover. My son drew on my journal. This is a prayer journal, and I use a Bible app to help with daily devotionals so that I can start building my relationship with God. And I truly love this journal because there are entries for 7 days of the week, and you get both weekly and monthly reflections, which is truly helpful for me. The prompts in this journal are extremely easy to follow. You have your daytime prompts that you fill out during the day or in the morning, and you have your nighttime prompts at the bottom of the journal. So you can write down things that you're grateful for, Bible verses that you can write down so you can recall later on. You can write down bullet points for things that you want to reflect on or thoughts that you have and your priorities for the day. Then at nighttime, you will write down the highlights of your day, a reward if accomplished, and ending your day with a prayer. And if you want to get this journal, it is always linked down in the description. It's now time to move on to book number 2. I'm deciding to go with The Girls in the Garden because I know The Women is going to be way too sad for the sad book that I just finished. Even though this one may have some sad elements, I hope there's more of a better, happier ending that the girls come home at the end of this book. So let's go. Is this gonna be like hidden pictures with these creepy ass pictures throughout the book? I hope not. Because hidden pictures illustrations were creepy. Your hand finds mine. So I'm nearly 100 pages into this book, and from what I can gather, there's one set of family in this Virginia Park little town. The mom's name is Claire, and she has two daughters named Grace and Pip. Now they have a father, but a while back he had a schizophrenic episode where he tried to unalive his family by burning down the house, and he didn't know whether the girls were inside or not. So he went away to some psychiatric facility to get treatment, and the girls had to move away to this now town called Virginia Park. So this family is new, and they are starting to meet the other families within this Crescent Park. Now back to Claire, Grace, and Pip. Grace and Pip play with Howard's daughters, but they feel like they are weird. That family is just weird. They can't really put a finger on how they're weird and why they are weird to them, but they just are. And come to find out, one day Grace was found bloodied and unresponsive in a hidden corner in a lush rose garden within Virginia Park. So we got to figure out what happened to Grace. Why was she there? Why is she bloodied and unconscious? And what are the secrets that are going to be uncovered about this weird town, about the children and the adults? This book is the type of shit that you read in some Lifetime movie. So right now, Claire's husband, ex-husband, which is Pip and Grace's dad, this crazy man is out of the psych ward because he is now medically cleared. So he is staying with, let's just say, an old friend, because Claire does not want him to come home around her or the girls, right? Right. Now Grace is being a little rebellious little girl because she's only 13 years old, messing around with a neighborhood boy named Dylan. And they're getting caught doing little juvenile stuff, like sitting on his lap and just doing innocent things such as that. But obviously, Claire does not like that because she doesn't want her fast little daughter running around with the neighborhood boy. Then you have Adele and Leo, which are known as the H's. That's what I'm just gonna call them because I can't pronounce their family name. I feel like they are holding the neighborhood's biggest secret with their family dynamic. They have a weird thing going on in their house. Their children are odd. Yet Grace loves going over to their house for some reason. And Pip has the inclination to be like, oh no, this family is weird. I'm not gonna hang around them as much as Grace is, but Grace, she just has rose-colored glasses on right now. And I think that's why something happens to her later on in the book, which is known in the synopsis. It's not a spoiler. So I'm just waiting for that point to come. I'm about, I'd say 50% into the book, and now the climax is really starting to build. The first 50% is just the story building, getting to know all the characters and the people in the neighborhood, but now we're getting into some shit. Good morning. It is the next day. I have finished The Girls in the Garden, and I was not as impressed as I thought I would be. So the last 50% of the book, it really built slowly. It was a slow building story. I would say it was medium paced as far as the storyline went. There was a lot of story building to lead up to the climax of the story. And the whole climax of the story is about little Grace getting hurt in the field. Long story short, jealousy is a bitch. And people will do anything to hurt you physically, mentally, emotionally when they're jealous of you. Especially when they feel like you're stealing something from them. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna rate The Girls in the Garden 3 stars. So let me know what Lisa Jewell book I should read next down in the comments. But the very last book on this TBR list is The Women by Kristen Hanna. And I actually have already started it this morning. I'm probably 15 or 20% into the book right now. And we are following the story of Frankie. Her real name is Frances, but she goes by Frankie. And she has a brother who was sent to the Vietnam War, and she wanted to follow him into the war because that is her best friend. She loves him so much, yada yada yada. And Frankie is actually a nurse, so she is not satisfied with her career in the normal world, so to speak, as a nurse, because she feels like she is not doing enough for her title. So she wants to do more with her career. So she enlists herself into the army so that she can, number one, be with her brother in Vietnam, and number two, satisfy her needs as a nurse. But one day she finds out that her brother was killed in the line of duty. His body was blown to smithereens, no pun intended, and they really couldn't even piece his body back together to be shipped home so that he could be laid to rest. So obviously her family is extremely devastated with that, and at the same time she broke the news to her parents that she was going into the war, and her parents were so mad at her. But she's a grown adult. She's now 21 years old, so they really can't say anything to her, and now she's off in Vietnam in the war. Once she gets to Vietnam, she sees the devastation and the catastrophe of the actual war, and all these soldiers are either, number one, having their limbs amputated because of landmines or being shot. Number two is death, the inevitable for some soldiers. So she's having an extremely hard time adjusting to this new life in the Vietnam War. And she does have her fellow nurses that are aiding her in adjusting into this new life. But for someone that is very naive to the war and in terms very green, she is not adjusting well at all. So while I continue listening to this audiobook, my son and I are gonna go to our local library because once a week we go to story times so that he can listen to story times with other fellow toddlers. And I need to pick out more books for my TBR because once I finish The Woman, that'll be all the books that I picked out for my TBR for the month of April, so I need to add more. I'll see you guys at the library. I'm back from the library. These are the 4 books that I decided to pick up. One of them I've been searching for months, ever since I read The Reformatory, and that is The Nickel Boys. I cannot wait to read this, and I will probably try to watch the movie after I read this as well. Number 2 is The God of Good Looks. Don't know anything about this book at all. The cover is gorgeous. She looks amazing. So I'm excited to see what this is about. The Pineapple Street. I've seen this book probably 3 times, the last 3 times I visited my library, and I just didn't pick it up. I don't know why I didn't. Maybe it was just the timing of it. I didn't feel like reading it, but I decided to pick it up now. And this is also a Good Morning America book club choice, so this should be really good. And lastly is Black Cake. Now that I have my second half of my TBR books for the month, let me catch you up on how far I've gotten into this book. So I'm nearing 50%, and Frankie is still going through a lot of shit. The war has gotten so much worse. She was transferred from her original station to the 71st district, and that place is so much more worse than where she came from. This new hospital is getting bombed left and right, it seems like every other day, and the amount of casualties that roll into this hospital is just devastating. There's kids that are fresh out of high school that are dying left and right. Even some people that she has grown close to in the short amount of time that she's been there are dying. So it goes to show, when you go to war, you shouldn't really get attached to the people that you are in contact with on a daily basis, even though that's easier said than done, because human nature, you want to grow relationships with people, but it's just so easy to die when you're in war. So right now she actually is on a little vacation. They call it R&R. She was commanded to go on vacation because she still hasn't taken any time off for herself because the war is so hectic. So she is in Kauai right now with an old friend from her hometown that also was very close to her brother. So they have a little fling going on right now, and she just told the gentleman, his name is Rai, that she signed up for 1 more year on duty because she feels like if she left the hospital that she's in right now, the staff is inexperienced. She feels like she has more business to handle, and she doesn't want to leave her people hanging. So Rai told her, you know what, I'm just gonna sign up for another year because I don't want to leave you behind in this devastating, nasty Vietnam War. So with that being said, I'm gonna continue reading while I make myself some lunch, and my son is taking a nap right now. So that leaves me ample amount of time to read as much as I can. I genuinely love how the author has added these personal letters that Frankie is writing to her parents. It definitely gives a personal touch to this story and very true to self, because there's a lot of soldiers that still write letters to their parents. Even though there are electronic correspondences, sometimes they don't have the option to write electronically, so they have to write handwritten letters, and that definitely gives a personal touch to this story. It kind of reminds me of The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. Fun fact, I only got 5% into that book and I gave up because I could tell it was already going to be so sad. Even from the few handwritten letters that I read at the beginning of the book, I'm like, yeah, I can't do this because I'll be crying with every single page. It is so messed up that they just fired Frankie from her nursing job at a hospital just because she did a tracheotomy on a young man that was suffering from a gunshot wound to the chest. And he was choking on his blood, so how else was he supposed to breathe? Talking about Frankie's a liability to the hospital, so she can't work there anymore. Bitch, she just saved someone's life, but you're worried about liability and money. It's crazy how you can't bring your combat mentality into civilian life, because anything goes when it's in war. There's no rules. Just save people's lives and move on to the next person. But that can't happen in civilian life. Lord have mercy. That was one of the most devastating books that I've read in a long time. I honestly need to take a breath. I honestly need to think about how this book has affected me in some sort of way, because Frankie went through a lot. When she got home from the Vietnam War, she didn't know she was suffering from PTSD because it wasn't diagnosed yet, even as a medical terminology. So right off the bat, she got home. She was getting spit on by people at the airport. Then when she gets home to her parents' house, she ultimately surprised them with her coming home. And even with that, her parents just brushed it off as if she was away in France or Florence. That's where her parents were telling people in town that she was studying abroad for the last 2 years, rather than telling them the truth that she was in Vietnam being a combat nurse. So she's just been holding a grudge against her parents. Her parents don't want to talk to her about how her time went in Vietnam and how she was feeling. They literally brushed her feelings to the side and moved about their life as if nothing happened. So Frankie had no one to talk to besides Barb and Ethel, who were the other 2 nurses that were in combat with her. But as far as her inner circle, she had nobody. And I think what was worst of all, Frankie being a woman, when she was going to the VA clinic twice to try to reach out for help, just to talk to somebody because she was struggling a lot, they kept asking her, like, are you a veteran? She was like, yes, I was in Vietnam. They're like, there's never women in Vietnam. And she kept telling them, yes, I was there. I was there for 2 years. I was a combat nurse in 2 hospitals over in Vietnam. So stop telling me I'm not a veteran, because I am. And they refused to help her. But I do want to commend Frankie for her resilience and her strength, even though she was struggling tremendously with PTSD, with her mental health, physical health, securing a job with her career, as she continued on as a nurse when she came back into civilian life. And with that being said, I will rate this book 5 stars. If you enjoyed this reading vlog, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books that I listed in this video today. I will see you in the next one. Bye.